guys, Nicholas here with professional traders John and David. We had a special viewer request trade on Vibe, which is on Binance, and it's a VR coin. We find this very interesting since the viewer got in around point oh oh 0.003, that's 3,000 Satoshi, and we think it's a very possibly good lotto ticket trade, or where you could essentially put a real low stop loss and wait for it to double, or at least hit a nice 20-30% in the short term. Now the problem with this coin is it's a very low volume, and it's a low market cap coin in the top 200, so it's definitely a defined risk, as you guys see, but it is on a big exchange like Binance. Now John, what do you see for the short-term pattern happening for this trade?
Well, thanks, Nicholas, and thanks to our loyal viewer who sent us this one. We want to show you guys what we might be able to do with it. What you want to take a look at on these low volume trades is get to some shorter time frames, see if you can get a safe entry. And then before we wrap up this video, we'll show you what the bigger picture looks like too. But it just so happens things are moving nicely for Vibe, and we now have what's called a bull pennant. It's the same thing as a flag, except on shorter time frames, they tend to move much quicker. And I'm going to talk more about that after we give you the trade. But we are set up in a little triangle here and threatening to break out. And we need to know how to trade this safely. So I'm going to turn it over to Pro Trader David. We'll set us up and show you what we can make on it. David?
Thanks, John. Thanks, Nicholas. And thanks again to our subscriber for sending in this request. Our subscriber got in at a great price. I think they got in just over 30, and I'm going to again refer to these numbers without all the leading zeros. It's currently at 31.50. So our recommendation, our trade recommendation, is going to be to kind of scale in between that 31.50 down to 3,000. Anywhere that you're getting in there is fine. Obviously, the lower the better. But we're going to put a stop on this at the 27 cent or the 27 range, which is below all the congestion you see there, and it is actually the low. It would be the low on Binance if it gets to that level. So we would want to definitely be out at that point. As a target, we're going to look up in the 36 cent range, which is actually off the top of the chart that we're looking at there. But again, if you looked at a little bit longer term, you can see some congestion and some resistance up there in the 36 range. So that'll be our first area to take some off. This is even though again we're talking in 0.0000, a lot of leading zeros, we're risking a little bit more than 10% on this, so we probably take a little bit less than a full size for this trade, and that's kind of a little bit wider than what another way that we could look at this, which is on a shorter term trade. I'm going to throw that back to you to talk about, John. But that's our current setup.
Okay, thanks, David. So a couple quick tips for you that you'll be able to use on this trade and any other where you see these patterns. Pennant trade is considered a continuation pattern. And what that means is buyers are getting serious about Vibe. They step up and buy it. And the way you know that we have a potential continuation pattern is you check the volume. You can barely see in the little shaded area, but much higher than recent trading. So we have the potential for a continuation pattern. What does that mean to you? It means this thing needs to move. So we're tightening up in the triangle. It's getting closer and closer. If it wants to keep going in the middle of the triangle or dip down under this trade, we should be tightening stops and think about getting out. Continuation patterns need to prove themselves and prove themselves reasonably quickly. So use that as a guideline, and that'll help you trade on short-term time frames better. Sometimes it won't prove itself, and then it does, and you got out. Well, live with that, because 9 times out of 10 it will prove itself, and you'll be safe when it starts to drop there, and you get out much quicker than waiting for the 27. So that could work on Bitcoin just as well as it works on Vibe. It's a tip that you can use. The other thing about Vibe we wanted to show you is going to the daily chart, and you can see here we got a bunch of stuff I need to remove. Here we go. I want to get a good quick look for you though. Important is we love showing you trades where there's short-term potential. You can get in safely, but there are signs that this thing has the potential to retrace a bunch of this big move at the opening when it first was offered in its ICO on Binance. We've got, bull flag that didn't quite confirm. The main thing to notice is all the big spikes are green. Everything's going up when it moves up, and then it's trending downward. That tends to be a sign of accumulation. So we've got a short-term pattern that says, hey, I can get in and make a little money safely. But like David said, you take some off and ride the rest as a lotto ticket if this thing plays out, and you might see prices up here. Those are wonderful trades to get into for lotto picks as long as you can do it safely and not risk too much. Keep your position size a little smaller. If it works, you're going to make plenty of money. You don't need to bet the farm on this one. Back to you, Nicholas.
And I'm just going to correct you on one thing, John, that ever since this coin got listed on Binance, it had this huge spike. And right now it's going back to the price you guys see right here, where it was before being listed on Binance. And that just shows, its previous support. And that's why I know many of the big traders, look at it as a good entry place right now. But all in all, it definitely is a very high risk trade because it's a low volume coin, and charts are just so much harder to do on low volume coins. We can just move up and down like this, as you guys see right above me right here. So stay safe, but we see this as a nice potential lotto ticket play with much greater returns than 30, 50, or even 100%, if it plays out correctly. So I'll see you guys later, and make sure you guys are subscribed or recommend any cool charts you guys see and find patterns we can analyze for you guys. See you later.